Hello, welcome to the fix today, and we're talking all about ankles. But specifically, we can have a couple of different types of restrictions. So the one we're going to talk about today is that if you ever found that you're squatting or your calf feels tight, at the back, when say you're doing something like a front squat, then maybe it genuinely is that you've got soft tissue tightness at the back, your calf or your Achilles tendon or whatever it may be. Sometimes though, when we're doing this motion, as in your shin coming forwards with a fixed foot, have you ever had that pain at the front, or kind of like almost like an impingement or a pinching at front? Well, if you do experience that, the likelihood is it's probably an articular or a joint restriction as opposed to a soft tissue or a muscle restriction. And if that is the case, stretching probably isn't going to resolve that, and we might have to do something different and specific to target the problem that's happening at the joint. And that's where the bands come in. Now the most important reason that I'm doing this video is because I see people using the bands incorrectly. And what we're talking about here is when you feel that pinch at the front, that is an impingement in all likelihood between two bones. So I'm going to try and show you with my hands here. So this top hand is basically mimicking my shin, and this kind of claw that I'm making, these two sides are almost like those bony knuckles on the outside and the inside of your ankle. My fist is the bone called the talus, so it's almost like a bit of a snail-shaped bone where this fits over, and that's what makes the talar crural, the ankle joint that we mostly refer to most of the time. Can you see this little kind of cavern or this little space at the top? If the joints are moving correctly, this space should be maintained to allow motion of that shin coming forward. So that is this motion going forward like this without any pinch. And to facilitate that, what should be happening is the snail or the talus should be gliding backwards to keep that space open. Now sometimes what happens is either it's blocked or it's not moving, or even gliding forwards, and it means that if that shin, as that shin comes forwards, this space starts to get increasingly less until you get a pinch and you run out of room, and that's when you feel that block. So what can we do about that? We can use the band, but it means that we need to be specific about where we're putting the band on the foot of the ankle and in which direction it's pointing, pulling even. Because if it's in the wrong direction, we could actually make that impingement worse rather than better. So here's the first one. If you want the band to be pulling backwards to help restore that motion of the talus gliding backwards to prevent impingement, then first off, the band needs to be below these bony knuckle points on the side, kind of right where the tongue of your trainer would be, and it's pulling backwards like this. So that would look like this. In all honesty, if you're doing this, you can't really do it in trainers, so I would go in socks or bare feet. So I'm going to make sure this anchor point's low down enough so it's not pulling me upwards like this. I'm going to get the band right around the front of my ankle, and I actually prefer doing this in a half kneeling position like this. So you can see that band's below that bony knuckle. I'm going to keep my foot facing forwards, and then I'm translating that shin forward, just within the pain-free range. Don't work through a pinch, but if you were experiencing a pinch, you'll probably find that's alleviated pretty quickly. If we want to do it the other way, because the other way we can do this is if the shin is, if we're having the band on the shin as opposed to the snail bone, then we can have it pulling the other direction, as in forwards, because a forward pull of the shin is essentially, relatively speaking, is the same as the snail going backwards. So that would look like this. I'm going to flip it round, so now I'm facing the anchor point rather than facing away. The band's just above those bony knuckle points. I'm coming back. You want a decent amount of tension in the band. I'm back in that half kneeling position, and then same motion again. The motion is the same, whichever one you're doing. The only thing that changes is the direction of pull on the band. Same thing. Make sure that foot is straight forwards. There's no collapsing of the arch down here, and your foot's not spinning out. and that the heel isn't lifting upwards like this. If you have pain, to begin with, you're going to work within pain-free range. So just from beginning to mid-range, not necessarily into resistance, small amplitude. If pain is then resolved, and you might find that if you had a pinch before and you do these, that the pain goes immediately, if it's not chronic. But if you're finding that the pain's gone, you can push it to end of range and then either small or large amplitude oscillations, pushing that end of range without that heel lifting or any of those compensations happening. So quick fix for articular restrictions. Disclaimer there is that if you are experiencing pain and there's no change in your symptoms and you're still getting that impingement sensation in front and the band doesn't make any difference, that might be time then to go and see a specialist like a physio or something like that. Okay.